And we're now going to be joined by the chairman of the man at the center of the big, beautiful bill, the House Ways and Means Committee Chairman, Jason Smith. Sir, good to have you on the show.
It's always great to be with you, John. Rebecca.
Really great to have you with us, sir. First question I have for you is there are so many rising concerns really about national security from the threats due to wide open borders under Joe Biden, and we see growing aggression from China, Russia, and Iran. How is Congress really ensuring that taxpayer dollars are being prioritized, that we're spending that money here to defend our homeland rather than really funding, foreign entanglements or wasteful domestic spending?
That's exactly what is the foundation, Rebecca, of the One Big Beautiful Bill that passed out of the House that's over in the Senate. When you look at that legislation, it provides the largest one-time investment in border security, in looking at the immigration issues. It also creates increased funding in protecting Americans by the Golden Dome that is within the One Big Beautiful Bill. Most people think of the One Big Beautiful Bill as the largest tax cut in U.S. history that delivers permanency of Trump's tax cuts and no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and tax relief for seniors. It does all that, but it also does the additional items, and that's why it has its title, One Big Beautiful Bill. But it also cuts more spending in one package than ever before in the history of Congress.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive, pretty amazing. So I want to ask a little bit about the status of what's going to come back from the Senate. Your thoughts on how it's shaping up in the Senate, what you think you get back, and is it possible to get something through the House in the next couple of weeks?
We absolutely are going to get this through. The president has called and asked for it to be on his desk by July 4th. I believe that Congress should deliver that. We passed the bill over 6 weeks ago. It's been over in the Senate for a while. It's go time. This week, they need to pass the bill, send it back, but they need to carefully thread the needle. I've said all along to my counterparts on the other side of the building, you have to have balance. You can't go too far in any one direction because we have a razor-thin majority. In the House of Representatives, I can only lose 1.4% of my colleagues. In the Senate, they can lose 6% of their colleagues to pass a bill. So this bill passed the House 215 to 214. They have to use balance in threading that needle.
And speaking of threading that needle, our President Trump seems to be doing a very good job really bringing peace. And we saw what happened just a few days ago in Iran. Here in America, we understand that there is or could be foreign funding, foreign interference, or foreign influence as it relates to unrest that we're seeing across cities, including L.A. Do you have any information that might suggest or point to that, in fact, a lot of that unrest is funded by foreign interests?
This is something that we have been researching at the Ways and Means Committee for over a year now. In fact, I have called for 11 different non-for-profits to have their tax-exempt status reviewed and revoked. Unfortunately, during that time frame, we have had numerous IRS commissioners go in and out. We're currently on the sixth one in the last 6 to 9 months. But I am so thrilled that this is the first one that is President Trump's confirmed pick. Congressman Billy Long, my former colleague from the state of Missouri. And I look forward to looking at these different non-for-profits that we have pointed out that has been funneling money to terrorist organizations, but also that have been funding money to create discontent and unrest, whether it's on college campuses or whether it's on the streets or protesting against ICE or obstructing against ICE. They need to be held accountable. That is not their tax-exempt status fulfillment. And so I think the IRS should eliminate their tax-exempt status.
Yeah. That's going to be a big moment. And now with a new commissioner, they're empowered to do so, hopefully. So I want to turn to something you mentioned, because I do think it's one of those big investments that a lot of Americans don't fully understand yet. We saw how the dome over Israel has played such a big role in saving lives. President Trump wants to create that golden dome here. That's one of the big investments in this bill. Talk a little bit about the threat that we face from our skies above and why the golden dome is so important at this moment in American history.
Well, you see exactly the protections that Israel has with their dome. United States should definitely have it. I think for the security of all Americans. You just look at Iran, for example. Iran has been saying for years, death to America. And there's a lot of other folks out there that don't like the United States. And so we need to protect our homeland first and foremost. And the Golden Dome will do that. It will actually protect most of Canada and Mexico as well, too. So it would definitely protect North America.
Now, under Joe Biden, we saw wide open borders, so many gotaways, millions of people in America that should not be here. How concerned should the average American be about potential sleeper cells right here in America?
You know, it's unfortunate. We've had over 20 million that we know of illegals that had crossed the southern border in the 4 years of the Biden administration. They just allowed anyone and everyone to come through. And we don't know. We don't know all those individuals. We don't know how many terrorists came through. And so every American should be mindful and pay close attention, because you don't know what might be out there. Because unfortunately, I've been to the southern border numerous times during the Biden administration, and I would talk to those Border Patrol agents, and they would tell me that they would have hundreds of people from hundreds of different countries that were not connected to, that bordered us or was part of our hemisphere. They were from the Middle East, they were from China, they were from Asia, Africa, all over. And they just were able to come across the southern border.
On the world stage, do you see that Hamas and Hezbollah have been severely weakened? Do you think that Iran's, ability to really create unrest has been weakened severely?
There is no question, without a doubt, they have been weakened beyond imagination, and we're grateful for that. Because of that, the world is a safer place.
Amen.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Sir, before we let you go, I just want to ask a little bit about what happened in Africa. It's hardly had time to get into the news with everything else that's going on, but 30 plus years of war between Congo and Rwanda has been brought to an end. A peace agreement going to be signed on Friday. In that region, there's an enormous amount of vast minerals. I know China will be trying to get their hands on it, but the U.S. brokering this deal, is that an enormous opportunity for us to get much needed commerce going so that we can continue our AI revolution in America with those minerals?
Absolutely. I think Africa as a continent in general is one that America needs to engage in aggressively, because there's numerous minerals, critical minerals, rare earths that we need. And we need to make sure that China is not raping their homeland, and we need to protect it, but preserve it, and also work with them so it can be mutually beneficial for both the United States and Africa as a continent altogether. So it will only be helpful moving forward with this peace agreement.
And there's a trade deal between us and Africa that I think expires at the end of the year. I know your committee's working on that. Do you think that that has a chance of coming back in some form by the end of the year?
Yeah, that's AGOA.
Yep.
It expires the end of September. And it's something that we have been working on. I've been working with the administration. We want to make sure that it's done right, because we want to have those appropriate trade preferences with these countries that can be very, very beneficial for us when it comes to the rare earths and critical minerals.
Yeah. What an enormous opportunity. What an enormous portfolio, sir, that's on your plate right now as the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee. Great honor to have you on the show today. Thanks for joining us.